Chapter 11. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Promise Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, as you command, Master. After you put the equipment into her storage space, she bowed respectfully to Yi Xian before leaving. After you left, Yi Xian began to take stock of his previous gains. He had already given away all the things that he could give to you. In general, his gains were quite good. The most surprising gains were the spiritual artifacts and cultivation methods. The sword defense lightning technique was a low-grade earth-grade cultivation method. The cold light ice soul sword was a low-grade spiritual artifact. With the sword defense lightning technique, not only would Yi Xian's cultivation speed increase, but it would also allow his own power to be attached to the power of thunder. On the Tianyuan continent, the power of thunder was an extremely tyrannical power. If a cultivator's power was attached to the power of thunder, it would greatly increase their destructive power. The cold light ice soul sword could increase both Yi Xian's combat power and also give him the additional power of ice. If ordinary people who had not stepped into the ranks of cultivation came into contact with it, they would instantly become an ice sculpture. Moreover, if a cultivator's power was strong enough, one sword could freeze even an entire river. With the support of these two powerful tools, Yi Xian was not even slightly afraid of meeting more advanced cultivators later on. Of course, if he wanted to fight against a cultivator at the Golden Core state, he could only use the power of a 7th-grade Nirvana pill. After all, some talented cultivators could easily cross states to challenge others. This was especially in low states, such as the refinement states and the Qi transformation state, which those who had just entered cultivation were in. With the support of all kinds of rare equipment, many talented geniuses could cross even 3 or 4 stages. Of course, as one state increased, the difficulty of crossing stages also increased. Perhaps in the Qi transformation state, some talented geniuses could cross 3 or 4 levels to fight, but if their cultivation reached the true essence state, they could at most cross only 1 or 2 stages. When one's cultivation reached the purple spirit state, if they could cross even 2 stages to fight, they would be 1 in 10,000 and a complete genius. Once one's cultivation base reached the core formation state, the power in the cultivator's core would be extremely boundless. It would be extremely difficult to cross stages to challenge. To be able to remain undefeated in such a state, one could be called a rare genius. If one was able to cross a minor stage to challenge someone, then one would be a monster among 10,000. If one was truly able to cross a minor stage, he was an absolute monster. In this 1 month, if you want to make another breakthrough, you have to find some special items to give to you, or you'll have to take in more disciples. Yi Xian stroked his chin and thought for a moment, then said slowly. Although it seemed like he could no longer get any use out of Yu's body, there were actually quite a lot of things that he could farm from her. For example, a cultivator's comprehension value and innate bone value. If he could help you increase her comprehension value and innate bone value, he could also receive feedback points from the system. However, to increase a cultivator's comprehension value and innate bone value, he would have to find some extremely rare heavenly and earthly treasures. Of course, Yi Xian could also farm some experience related to refiners or alchemists through you. The current Yi Xian was just an ordinary cultivator. He did not have the talent of an alchemist or an armament master at all. If he wanted to dabble in these 2 fields, he could obtain some knowledge from his disciples. As long as his disciple had successfully become an armament master or an alchemist, he would be able to obtain corresponding feedback points. Then, he would gain the corresponding talent. The most important thing was that his level would always surpass his disciples. Let's not think about this for now. For now, I should first break through and bring you to get her revenge. Yi Xian waved his sleeve and set up a simple array in the hall. Then, he went into seclusion. After pouring his spiritual energy into you, he was only half a step away from the middle stage. As long as he gathered the power of the 7th-grade Nirvana pill, he would be able to break through easily. Moreover, he still had 3 days left, which would be more than enough. The array in the hall would completely shield Yi Xian's aura, so as to avoid alerting the sect master and the others as to what was happening. Time passed quickly. Soon, 3 days passed. During this period, his movements in the hall did not disturb anyone. When Yi Xian left the hall, his strength had already broken through to the middle stage of the real core state. Other than that, the cultivation method in his body had also undergone a transformation. He had already successfully mastered to the sword defense lightning technique. In the entire Qingyun sect, the only one who had broken through to the middle stage of the true core state like him was the sect leader, Wan Shanhai. Even the deputy sect leader was only at the early stage of the true core state. After sensing the surging aura bursting out of his core, Yi Xian could not help but smile. BDNVL.M. After reaching the true core state, every stage crossed was like a difference in strength between heaven and earth. Now, he could easily defeat his previous self. True core state cultivators were already very powerful. Every stage brought one's power up more than 2-fold. It was not just a little more than 2-fold, either. When a cultivator in the early stages of the true core state met someone in the middle stages, they would be crushed. After all, this was no small increase. It was very likely that the power increase was between 10,000 and 20,000-fold. It was also because of this that the higher the state, the more difficult it was for a cultivator to challenge a cultivator at a higher state than them. When Yi Xian walked out of the hall, a beautiful figure suddenly appeared in his field of vision. It turned out that you had been waiting outside the hall for a long time. Greetings, Master. Seeing Yi Xian come out, Yu quickly bowed, her eyes respectful. You, today I'll give you a special gift. Yi Xian said with a smile. Yu was puzzled. Suddenly, a symbol that looked like a small bird lit up between Yi Xian's eyebrows. As the symbol emitted rays of light, it left Yi Xian's eyebrows and slowly grew bigger. Then, it turned into a huge flying bird. Its feathers were a fiery red color, and it increased the temperature of their surroundings. Master, this flying bird. Seeing this, you could not help but open her cherry dot-like mouth slightly. She looked at the flying bird in front of her with surprise. Don't be surprised. He is my mount, a level 4 firebird. Now, he's yours. Yi Xian said with a smile. Then, without waiting for you to react, Yi Xian reached out and grabbed the mount. A drop of blood essence suddenly appeared in the body of the firebird before slowly falling onto Yu's glabella. The next second, Yu's entire body shook, and the symbol of the firebird suddenly appeared between her eyebrows. Yu suddenly felt an inexplicable connection to the firebird in front of her. When she looked at it, she felt warm inside. This was a powerful tier 4 demon beast, which was equivalent to a cultivator being in the purple spirit state. Was her master so easily giving it to her as a mount? The tiers of demon beasts were very straightforward. There were a total of 10 tiers. The lowest tier was equivalent to a cultivator's refinement state, while the second tier corresponded to the Qi transformation state, and so on. In other words, the firebird that you had just been given was equivalent to the purple spirit state of human cultivators. In the Great Qian dynasty, it was considered an extremely rare treasure. Ding! As the host has gifted his disciple a firebird, tier 4 mount, the host has received a 50-fold feedback critical hit. Congratulations on obtaining the Blazing Plume, tier 5 mount. Chapter 12. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Competition, special reward. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. As soon as the system finished speaking, a bird filled with fiery red power appeared in Yi Xian's system storage space. This was the Blazing Plume gifted by the system. It was a powerful tier 5 mount. The Blazing Plume was similar to the Firebird from before in terms of appearance, but the fiery red color of its feathers was more powerful and saturated. The strength of a Tier 5 demon beast was equivalent to that of a human cultivator at the empty core stage. Not bad. Seeing this, Yi Xian could not help but smile. BDNV, let's go. You can familiarize yourself with the mount on the way. After Yi Xian withdrew his spiritual sense, he said to you. Okay. You nodded obediently, then slowly controlled the firebird to fly. Screech. The firebird faced the sky and let out a long cry. Its huge wings suddenly shook, and it slowly squatted down in front of Yi Xian and you. When the two came behind it, it flapped its wings and flew up high. However, just as the firebird was about to leave the Qingyun clan, a stream of light suddenly appeared. A figure then stood in front of Yi Xian and you. Elder Yi, are you leaving the Qingyun clan? The stream of light slowly dissipated, revealing a woman with a curvy figure. This woman was Elder Lin Qing from before. I want to bring you outside the clan to train. Yi Xian said. I see, no wonder. What? Seeing this, Lin Qing could not help but look curious. Just as she was about to say something, her expression suddenly changed, and he stared at you. 9th stage Qi transformation state. When the difference in strength between cultivators was too wide, cultivators with high cultivation level could spot weak cultivation states at a glance. Of course, if these weak cultivators had special methods to cover their states, they could indeed prevent others from seeing through their own cultivation realms. However, you obviously did not have this. In addition, Lin Qing's cultivation had reached the middle stage of the empty state, so she could naturally see your state at a glance. This. How did you do this? Lin Qing looked at you with a face full of shock. If she remembered correctly, 3 days ago, this little girl had still been at a weak 4th stage refinement state. How could she have crossed such a large state in an instant? Most importantly, this girl's aura was extremely stable. She did not look weak at all. Elder Yi, what on earth is? Lin Qing turned her head to look at Yi Xian. What else could be the reason behind a weak cultivator being able to cross such a large state in just 3 days? There could only be 2 scenarios. Firstly, a cultivator could have taught her everything very quickly, or perhaps the girl had awakened a rare physique in her cultivation. However, even if it was a rare physique, it would be impossible to jump states so quickly. At least, to Lin Qing's knowledge, there was no such physique capable of doing that. Most importantly, even if this girl's physique was really unique, it was impossible for her to not see any clues of it, right? In that case, there was only one other possibility. Elder Lin, what's the matter? Yi Xian did not seem to see Lin Qing's questioning expression. He spoke to her indifferently. Seeing this, Lin Qing could not help but look at Yi Xian with a complicated expression. It was obvious that Yi Xian did not want to reveal the matter of the spiritual power infusion, so he pretended not to understand her meaningful gaze. Forget it. Since this guy does not want to say anything, why should I ask? However, even so, Lin Qing was still extremely shocked in her heart. It's like this. My 2 disciples have left the clan to train for 2 months. Their names are Huang Ling and Xue Min. I don't know where they are right now. If Elder Yi happens to meet them outside, please bring them back to the clan for me. Soon, our Qingyun clan will hold a competition. After the competition, there will be another competition between the 3 great clans. The clan leader said that the competition rewards are very special, so I want to ask my 2 disciples to come back and participate. Lin Qing explained. Special rewards. Hearing this, Yi Xian could not help but perk up. That's right. Lin Qing nodded and said again. Whether it's the grand competition of the Qingyun clan or the grand competition between the 3 major clans, the rewards will all be very special. It seems like they'll be able to increase a cultivator's comprehension value. What? Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes immediately lit up before his gaze fell on you. In that case, you go and register too. Yes, master. Now that you had absolute trust in Yi Xian, she naturally would not question any of Yi Xian's decisions. If her master asked her to participate, she would have to put in 120% of her effort to win and obtain victory. Hearing this, Lin Qing could not help but look at you. She did not say anything. Although it was indeed a very rare thing for you to have broken through to the 9th stage of the Qi transformation state at her current age, there was still a huge gap between her and the more talented disciples of the Qingyun clan. Especially the personal disciples that the clan master and elders had taken in. All of them had already reached the true essence state. Perhaps when it came to interior disciples, Yu's current strength was indeed outstanding, but if she wanted to compete with personal disciples, she would not currently have any chance of winning. I won't be out for too long this time. If I meet Huang Ling and Xue Min, I'll definitely bring them back. Yi Xian said. If he ran into them by chance, he could of course bring them back. Otherwise, he could not be less bothered about them. Thank you, Elder Yi. Lin Qing said with a smile. Well, in that case, we'll be leaving first. Yi Xian nodded slightly, then the firebird flapped its wings and flew away. Lin Qing's gaze fell on the firebird in the air. She could not help but reveal a hint of confusion on her face. Spiritual energy infusion. How could this guy waste so much energy on a girl with such mediocre talent? Didn't he hate taking in disciples more than anyone before? For a moment, all kinds of questions popped into Lin Qing's mind. Chapter 13. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hiding Auras Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. You sat on the back of the Firebird thousands of feet high in the sky. She looked down at the ground below and could not help but feel curious. It was her first time flying in the sky. On the Tianyuan continent, the weak are prey to the strong. The strong are respected. This world is extremely cruel. You must remember not to expose your strengths in front of others. Today, I will teach you a method to hide your aura. Yi Xian stood on the back of the firebird with an indifferent expression. The spiritual power in his body turned into a transparent shield to resist the strong wind in the sky. He suddenly remembered something from his RUN.IN with Elder Lin Qing. He had been so focused on helping you break through with her cultivation that he had forgotten to teach her how to hide her strength. Hearing this, Yu, who was sitting cross-legged on the back of the firebird, could not help but look at Yi Xian with bright eyes. Yi Xian reached out and gently tapped on Yu's forehead. Qi storage technique. At the same time, a secret technique suddenly appeared in Yu's mind. By practicing Qi storage technique, one could easily hide one's own strength. Unless the difference in strength between two parties was too great, the other party would not be able to see through one's cultivation. Yu's current cultivation was at the 9th stage of the Qi transformation state. After practicing the Qi storage technique, she could at most block the spiritual sensing of an empty core state cultivator. If she encountered a true core stage cultivator, or an even stronger existence, this secret technique would have no effect at all. Of course, with Yu's breakthroughs in strength would also come the improvement of her Qi storage technique. Ding! Due to the host imparting the Qi storage technique to his disciple, a random 21. Fold feedback critical hit has been obtained. Congratulations on obtaining the breath concealing technique. The system's voice sounded in Yi Xian's mind. Immediately, he hurriedly opened the introduction of the breath concealing technique. The breath concealing technique was the same as the previous Qi storage technique. It could also conceal the cultivator's specific realm, but it could completely conceal the cultivator's aura, making the other party seem dead to the world when it came to spirituality. In other words, the Qi concealing technique could only hide the cultivator's cultivation state, but the breath concealing technique could hide all the cultivator's information. Whether it was the cultivator's cultivation state, breathing, heartbeat, or anything else, it could all be completely concealed. After using the breath-concealing technique, one's entire person would be like a grain of sand, completely unremarkable to the eye. Moreover, if one could cultivate to a state of mastery, there was a very high possibility of concealing the detection of a high-level cultivator. This could be said to be a killer's ultimate move. Seeing this, Yi Xian chose to cultivate without hesitation. You, who was carefully comprehending the qi field, could not help but raise her eyebrows. She realized that with her spiritual sense, it seemed that she could not detect the existence of her master at all. However, when she opened her eyes, her master was beside her with a calm expression. However, when she used her spiritual sense to detect again, she once again lost all her perception of her master. It was as if her master had become one with the void. The Firebird was extremely fast. In a moment, it had covered thousands of miles and was flying toward Yu's home. When Yi Xian left the Qingyun sect, he had asked for Yu's specific address. Yu's home was in Fengtian County, Linshur Village, west of Yunhai City. Fengtian County was located in Yunnan Province, which was in the east of the Great Qian dynasty. Back then, Yu had also experienced a narrow escape. It had taken her several months to reach the Qingyun sect. Now, with the rapid flying speed of the Firebird, they had only taken 4 days to get close to Yunhai City. Time passed slowly. Soon, a huge mountain range appeared in their field of vision. Even though they were thousands of feet up from the ground, they could not see the end of the mountain range. Not far away is the mountain range of the rural area. After passing this mountain range, we can reach Yunhai City. Yi Xian stood on the back of the Firebird, looked at the mountain range not far away, and spoke slowly. Hearing this, Yu hurriedly stood up. Looking at the mountain range in front of her, she could not help but feel absent-minded. When she first came to the Qingyun sect, she had experienced a narrow escape, barely passing through this mountain range. After leaving the dangerous center of the mountain range, she had met a pair of kind-hearted merchants. It was also with the help of that pair of merchants that she was able to arrive at the Qingyun sect by horse carriage. The Death Zone mountain range was extremely dangerous. It was known as one of the forbidden areas of the Great Qian dynasty. Cultivators who had not broken through to the core formation state would never to show off like Yi Xian. After all, there were many powerful demon beasts in the mountain range. If one was not strong enough, it was very likely that one would fall prey at the hands of those demon beasts. Of course, the mountain range of the Death Zone had many opportunities as well as much danger. It was also because of this that countless adventurers were active around the mountain range. At least on the way over the mountain range, Yi Xian had already seen more than a dozen groups of adventurers. When the adventurers saw the Firebird flying over the void, they could not help but shrink their necks back. Just the aura of the Firebird alone was already so terrifying. How terrifying could the strength of the master behind him be? Of course, Yi Xian did not know what the adventurers were thinking, and he was not interested. He planned to cross the mountain range of the Death Zone as soon as possible and then take a rest in Yunhai City. However, at this moment, a few figures suddenly appeared in his field of vision. Are they so fated? Seeing this, Yi Xian could not help but reveal a helpless expression. Not far ahead of them, there were 3 groups of cultivators confronting each other. One of the groups consisted of 2 curvaceous girls. Their beautiful eyes were filled with solemnity, and the long swords in their hands shone with a sharp light. On the other side were 7 cultivators in different clothes, with various weapons in their hands. Their gazes were fixed on the crystal in the hands of a young girl, their eyes filled with greed. On the other side, there were 3 young men dressed in cyan and black robes. These 3 men had calm expressions, and their faces had focused and strategizing expressions. The man at the front stood with his hands behind his back. His gaze fell on the 2 young girls in front of him, and his eyes were filled with ridicule. I wonder what the 2 of you think. As long as you agree to use the dark glacial frost as a reward, we will help you deal with these people. The young man dressed in green robes looked at the two young ladies indifferently, his eyes filled with ridicule as he spoke. Brat who doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and the earth, do you know what you're talking about? Before the two young ladies could reply, one of the group of 7, a fierce-looking man with a scar on his face, spoke up with a vicious look in his eyes. This guy really did not know what was good for him. Did he really think the 3 of them would be able to defeat them? He has not even tried to find out how powerful our ferocious adventurer team is. Hee hee. The young man did not bother with the scary guy. Instead, he turned his gaze toward the 2 girls. Chapter 14. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Can the 2 of you escape? Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. What else do the 2 of you have to think about? You're not a match for them at all, and you can't beat us. Do you really think that the 2 of you can escape? The young man lightly turned the storage ring on his finger and spoke with a playful look in his eyes. Amongst everyone in the crowd, his cultivation was at the highest level, and he was also the strongest. Although the 2 junior brothers next to him were slightly weaker, they were still able to deal with these people. In other words, even if both sides chose to join forces, they would not be afraid. Senior sister, what should we do? When Xue Min saw this, her expression could not help but change as she anxiously asked Huang Ling what to do. We must escape this place, no matter what it takes. Knowing this, Huang Ling could not help but grit her teeth. Then, she used her spiritual senses to send a message to Xue Min. When Xue Min heard this, she could not help but frown. The difference in strength between the 2 sides was not small. Could they really escape? If they were facing only the ferocious adventurer team, with their current strength, they might still be able to escape under the promise that they would ensure the safety of the dark glacial frost. Not only that, but if they used the trump card left by their master, they might be able to destroy the adventurer team. However, besides the adventurer team, there were 3 other powerful existences. The cultivation practitioners of these adventurer teams did not know the identities of these 3 people, but Xue Min and Huang Ling knew them very well. These people were all from the Xianin sect. The young man standing at the front, dressed in a green-black robe, was the disciple of the 9th elder of the Xianin sect, and he was a powerful personal disciple. His name was Duan Wujie. Judging from the energy waves emitted by his hand earlier, it seemed like he was a cultivation practitioner who had reached the 5th stage of the true essence state, but Xue Ming and Huang Ling knew very well that this guy's strength had already broken through to the 7th stage of the true essence state. The reason was very simple. Duan Wujie was very familiar with the qi storage technique and had concealed part of his energy waves. Therefore, not for the cultivation practitioners who were extremely powerful, they would not have been able to see his actual cultivation state. It was also because of this that the cultivation practitioners of the adventure team thought that Duan Wujie was just an existence in the 5th stage of the true essence state, so they were not too worried about him. Most importantly, the Xianin sect was ranked 2nd in the Great Qian dynasty. As the personal disciple of an elder, how could the other party not have a trump card? What? Haven't you made a decision yet? At this moment, Duan Wujie's gaze fell on Huang Ling. The expression in his eyes gradually grew colder. However, when his gaze fell on the crystal in Huang Ling's hand, he could not help but reveal a hint of greed. The dark glacial frost was an extremely rare treasure that could increase a cultivator's innate ability quite a bit. When Xue Ming and Huang Ling saw this, they could not help but narrow their eyes. Their grips on the long sword in their hands tightened. It seemed like the other party was already impatient. It was very likely that he would make a move against them. Quickly leave. Right at this moment, Huang Ling roared in anger, then her feet abruptly stomped the ground. The powerful spiritual power undulations left a deep pit in the ground. The waves ended explosively not far away, shooting some earth up with it. At the same time, Xue Ming performed some mysterious footwork and followed closely behind Huang Ling. "Hee, do you think you can escape?" Seeing this, the leader of the adventurer team immediately revealed a savage smile. The sword in his hand emitted a sharp light before his whole body shot forward like a cannonball. At the same time, the other cultivators of the adventurer team also followed with the treasures in their hands. "Why are you struggling so hard?" Seeing this, Duan Wujie could not help but let out a cold smile. Then, he took a step forward and disappeared. His two junior brothers followed closely behind. Bang! Clash! Bang! Clash! Soon, the sound of intense fighting could be heard from the forest that was covered with rocks. The leader of the adventurer team had a sharp and long sword in his hand. The sword was suffused with powerful sword energy, and he had used it to cut trees down along the way here. However, an even more powerful force emerged, slamming into the long blade of the scarred man. The powerful force sent the scarred man flying over 30 feet back. As he flew back, he knocked several trees down. Just after the scarred man slammed into the ground, a huge fist imprint appeared on his chest, making his entire ribcage sink in. "Why your strength?" The man looked not far away, his eyes filled with despair and fear. Just a few seconds ago, Duan Wujie's extremely fast speed had surpassed him, and that casual punch had almost killed him. It was that punch that made the scar-faced man truly understand his opponent's strength. This guy had actually reached the peak of the 7th stage true essence state, and was only half a step away from the 8th stage. How could a mere 5th stage true essence state cultivator like him be his opponent? Immediately, an extremely violent power rampaged through the scar-faced man's meridians. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of black blood before his entire body collapsed next to a broken tree. No one knew if he was dead or alive. "Leader. The leader is already dead. Let's run." The other cultivators of the adventurer team saw this scene and could not help but have a drastic change in expression. However, their first thought was not to save the scar-faced man, but to check if he was still alive. Then, they frantically fled in all directions. Besides the scar-faced man, the strongest among them was only at the 4th stage of the true essence state. Even their leader, who had reached the 5th stage, had been no match for Duan Wujie. How could they dare to stay? "Kill them all. I don't want anyone to escape." Duan Wujie indifferently gave his two junior brothers some orders before he disappeared again. Hearing that, a murderous glint sparkled in the two cultivation practitioners' eyes. Then, a ferocious smile appeared on their lips as they charged toward the fleeing adventurers. "Ah! I beg you, let me go. Mercy!" Not long after, screams of pain rang out in the forest covered in rocks. Although the two disciples of the Xianin sect had only reached the 5th stage of the true essence state, as talented cultivation practitioners of the Xianin sect, they were not existences that these ordinary adventurers could compare to. In just a moment, all the cultivation practitioners of the fierce adventuring team were killed. At the same time, Duan Wujie caught up with Xue Ming and Huang Ling, who were running away. Looking at Duan Wujie, who was walking toward them leisurely, their faces twisted up. Chapter 15. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You are quite arrogant. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Duan Wujie was too powerful. He had caught up with them so quickly. He was a genius cultivation practitioner in the 7th stage of the true essence state. Even if they chose to use their master's trump card, it would be difficult for them to escape. After all, how could the genius cultivation practitioners of the Xianin sect not have their own trump cards? Most importantly, Huang Ling was only at the 5th stage of the true essence state, and Xue Ming was only at the 4th stage, so how could they possibly stop this other party? It seemed like this was a dead end, no matter how one looked at it. Don't you guys like to run? Go on, then, run. Duan Wujie moved his body and suddenly appeared on top of a big tree, looking at the two people below with a mocking gaze. It was at this moment that the two other cultivation practitioners of the Xianin sect came over after finishing off the adventure team. Then, the three of them formed a pincer attack and surrounded Huang Ling and Xue Min. Duan Wujie, you're a 7th stage true essence state practitioner bullying a 5th stager and 4th stager. What kind of man are you? Huang Ling looked at Duan Wujie coldly. She and Xue Min had obtained this dark glacial frost by chance. Duan Wujie and the fierce adventurer team had discovered that they were in possession of it. What made them feel helpless was that both sides had discovered the existence of the dark glacial frost. It was a rare treasure that could increase a cultivator's innate bone value. How could they miss out on such a thing? After all, this was a treasure that even cultivation practitioners in the core formation state coveted. It was precisely because of this that the previous scene had taken place. Whether it was the cultivation practitioners of the Xianin sect led by Duan Wujie or the ferocious adventurer team, they all coveted the dark glacial frost in their hands. Of course, with Duan Wujie's strength, there was no need for him to negotiate with Huang Ling and Xue Min. He had only proposed such a condition to show off in front of them. However, Xue Min had repeatedly rejected Duan Wujie's condition, so he of course would not be kind to them. Treasures belong to the capable. Do you think your strength is worthy of owning this dark glacial frost? Duan Wujie could not help but sneer when he saw this. As long as you hand over the dark glacial frost, I can spare your lives on account of the fact that we're both part of top-tier sects of the great Qian dynasty. After all, I don't really like fighting. Don't force my hand. As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Wujie's eyes landed on Huang Ling and Xue Min wantonly. A lewd look flashed across his eyes. Duan Wujie, if you choose to attack us, you'll be making an enemy of our Qinyan sect. Do you think you can bear such consequences? Huang Ling could not help but ask the question with a cold expression in her eyes. At the same time, her heart was filled with despair. If the other party attacked, she and her junior sister would die today. Making an enemy. Our Xianin sect is ranked 2nd among the top sections. Your Qinyan sect is only ranked 10th. What can you do if you offend us? Besides, as long as I kill all the people who were here today, who will know that you died by my hand? Even if the Qinyan sect really hears about this, do you think they'd dare to become enemies with the Xianin sect? Duan Wujie could not help but put on a mocking expression when he heard this. With the strength of the Xianin sect, he was indeed justified in being cocky. Forget a mere personal disciple of the Qinyan sect. Even if your elders came here, they wouldn't dare to make an enemy of my sect. Duan Wujie spoke arrogantly, his eyes full of disdain. Oh. It seems like you're quite confident about that. It was at this moment that a faint voice suddenly rang out. Who is that? Hearing this, Duan Wujie's pupils constricted abruptly, and the spiritual awareness in his body swept out of him, searching for the source of the voice everywhere. At the same time, the expressions of the two cultivation practitioners of the Xianin sect, as well as Huang Ling and Xue Min's expressions, also changed. They knew very well that a truly powerful cultivation practitioner had appeared. Though the voice was faint, it seemed to ring out in all directions at the same time, filling the entire area. Duan Wujie carefully searched the surrounding space but could not find any traces of a cultivator. At this moment, Duan Wujie seemed to recall something as his gaze suddenly landed on one point within the empty space. A fiery red figure suddenly appeared. It was a firebird. Accompanied by the crack of the sound barrier breaking, the firebird showed up in an instant. At the same time, Duan Wujie noticed the two figures behind the firebird. They were a young man with a peerless face and temperament, and a young woman with a delicate and graceful figure. Although he did not know that woman, they were extremely familiar with the man. This guy was the 5th elder of Qinyan sect, Yi Xian. Although the Qinyan sect was only ranked 10th in the great Qian dynasty, Yi Xian's reputation was nothing to be scoffed at. As the youngest elder of the Qinyan sect, he was also known as the greatest genius of the Qinyan sect in the past 500 years. He had broken through to the middle stage of the empty core stage at the age of 20. Even within the Xianin sect, there were many elders who thought highly of Yi Xian. They thought that it was very likely that he would break through to the true core stage before the age of 20.6, and even reach the golden core stage before the age of 40.6. It should be known that in the Great Qian dynasty, cultivators in the golden core state represented absolute power. Even Duan Wujie, who thought that his talent was not bad, had only broken through to the 7th stage of the true essence state at the age of 18. Although he was confident that he could reach the purple spirit state before the age of 20, he could not guarantee that he could reach the core formation state before 30. This was a huge barrier for cultivators. The higher one state, the more difficult it would be to break through. Many cultivators had already broken through to the 10th stage of the purple spirit state by the age of 30, but most cultivators had to spend decades before they could then enter the core formation state. There were many cultivators who tried their entire lives, unable to break through the purple spirit stage. This proved Yi Xian's talent. How could Duan Wujie not have heard of him? He was now looking at this legend. After seeing Yi Xian appear, Duan Wujie's expression grew extremely unsightly, and his body could not help but tremble. He could not help but feel a sense of fear in his heart. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind, and that was to quickly run away. That dark glacial frost was nothing. Right now, saving his life was the most important thing he could do. Chapter 16. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Extermination Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. However, in the next second, Duan Wujie discovered to his horror that he could not move anymore. An invisible force had restrained his body. It was a terrifying force from the core formation state. At the same time, the two other cultivation practitioners from the Xianin sect not far away were also restrained by this invisible force, unable to move. However, Huan Ling and Xue Min were not affected in the slightest. Screech. Right at this moment, a loud and clear cry rang out in the void. The wings of the firebird vibrated with the terrifying power of flames, slowly hovering above a big tree. The terrifying pressure of the air even pushed the surrounding big trees to the ground. Elder Yi. When Huang Ling and Xue Min's gazes fell on the figure on the back of the firebird, they could not help but reveal the wild joy in their eyes. There was hope. Yi Xian, the idol they worshipped in Qinyan sect, was here. His cultivation was a terrifying existence on the same level as their master. A true expert at the middle stage of the empty core state. Even if Duan Wujie was a monster, it would be impossible for him to snatch the dark glacial frost away from them in front of a core formation cultivator. Duan Wujie greets Elder Yi. Under Yi Xian's terrifying pressure, Duan Wujie could not move at all. However, he still forced a smile. He could not help but curse in his heart. Damn it, why would an elder of the Qinyan sect appear in such a goddamn place? This is going to be so troublesome. When he thought about how he had been acting so pretentious 1 second ago and had gotten slapped in the face the next, he immediately felt extremely aggrieved. You're quite arrogant. How dare a mere personal disciple look down on the elders of my Qinyan sect? Seeing him, Yi Xian could not help but put on a sneer. Although the Qinyan sect's strength could not compare to the Xianin sect, it was still a powerful sect that had been around for thousands of years. It was not weak enough to kowtow to the Xianin sect. Most importantly, the Qinyan sect and the Xianin sect were not on good terms, anyway. A few days ago, the elders of the Xianin sect had besieged Yi Xian, so the two sides were enemies. However, since Duan Wujie left the sect 30 days ago to train, he did not know about this matter. It was all my fault. Please forgive me, Elder Yi, for my unintentional mistake. Seeing this, Duan Wujie quickly forced another smile. Hehe, do you think this is fun? Yi Xian looked at Duan Wujie indifferently before the qi transformation power in his core suddenly exploded. Seeing this, Duan Wujie could not help but change his expression. The bones in his body made no sound, but it was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on him. He could not help but kneel down. Huang Ling and Xue Min watched this scene from not far away. They were overjoyed. Duan Wujie had been extremely arrogant before, and his face had been full of pride, but now he was smiling like a dog in front of Elder Yi Xian. This was the absolute power that only those with great strength could possess. By simply relying on pressure, he was able to immobilize another 7th stage true essence state genius cultivator and make him nearly kneel down and beg for mercy. Elder Yi. My master is Gongsun Wuji. Please show mercy on account of my master. Duan Wujie did not want to kneel down. A powerful energy burst out of his body and resisted Yi Xian's pressure with great difficulty. For a moment, Duan Wujie's face was extremely red, and his blue veins almost burst out of his skin. Gongsun Wuji. Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes immediately turned cold. Gongsun Wuji was the 9th elder of the Xianin sect and was one of the people who had besieged him. Boom! Immediately, Yi Xian unleashed all the terrifying power of the true core state. In an instant, Duan Wujie and the other 2 cultivators of the Xianin sect were pressed down to the ground. Pft! The 3 of them simultaneously spat out blood. They were severely injured. This pressure. Witnessing this, Duan Wujie's pupils constricted abruptly, and his expression changed drastically. He had never felt such a terrifying pressure before, not even from his master. That this is the pressure of the true core state. How is it possible? How could he have broken through to the true core state? For a moment, Duan Wujie's eyes were filled with disbelief. Yi Xian should have been in the middle stage of the empty core state. Why did he have the terrifying pressure of a true core realm cultivator? He had broken through to the true core state after just 20 years of cultivation. Even the founder of the Xianin sect could not have done so when he was younger. Elder Yi. Duan Wujie immediately shouted with a face full of fear. He could already sense the killing intent in Yi Xian's pupils. This guy was probably going to kill him. Previously, he had been at most scared and worried that Yi Xian would punish him, so he did not want to reveal such a fearful expression. However, he could now sense Yi Xian's killing intent. He might die. He would not dare, right? For a moment, Duan Wujie's eyes were filled with disbelief. If he really died at Yi Xian's hands, the Xianin sect might declare war on the Qingyun sect. How could the Qingyun sect survive that? Elder Yi Xian, please. However, before Duan Wujie could beg for mercy, Yi Xian slowly raised his hand, expressionless. When Duan Wujie saw this, he was instantly scared out of his wits. Elder Yi, don't be rash. If you make a move against me, the Xianin sect will definitely not give up. Duan Wujie shouted with a face full of fear. Don't worry. After you leave, I will send Gongsun Wuji to find you very soon. As for the Xianin sect, they will also be buried with you. Yi Xian said indifferently. Then, in response to Duan Wujie's desperate expression, Yi Xian waved his hand lightly. A terrifying force that could collapse mountains and crack rocks suddenly erupted. Rumble. In an instant, the 3 cultivators of the Xianin sect turned into nothingness and disappeared from the world. Huang Ling and Xue Min, who were not far away, witnessed this entire scene and could not help but stare blankly, almost rooted to the spot. Had Elder Yi really killed Duan Wujie? Was he not worried that the Xianin sect would take revenge on the Qingyun sect? The 2 of them thought that Yi Xian would at most punish Duan Wujie by breaking his limbs or something like that. There was nothing they could do. The Xianin sect was very powerful. They were the 2nd most powerful sect in the Great Xian dynasty. The Qingyun sect usually did not dare to offend the Xianin sect. They never expected Elder Yi to be so decisive in killing him. Although they felt slightly relieved at Duan Wujia's death, they were more afraid now. If the Xianin sect took revenge on the Qingyun sect, how would they deal with it? Since Yi Xian's pressure had only swept over Duan Wujia and the others, Huang Ling did not know that Yi Xian's cultivation had already broken through to the true core state. What are you waiting for? Hurry up, and come over. Yi Xian's voice slowly drifted over to their ears. Ah. Okay. Hearing this, the two came back to their senses. They jumped onto the back of the Firebird. The next second, the Firebird faced the sky and let out a long howl before it flapped its wings and flew off into the distance. Chapter 17. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Someone else's master translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Thank you for your help, Elder Yi. Huang Ling and Xue Min came to the back of the Firebird and bowed respectfully to Yi Xian. They had never been so close to Yi Xian before. Looking at the idol that they had admired for so long, their cheeks could not help but burn. Their hearts could not help thumping hard. Not only was Yi Xian extremely talented, but he was also very handsome. His temperament was also unparalleled. The most important thing was that he was only 20 years old this year. He could be said to be the ideal type in the hearts of the countless female cultivators in the Qingyun sect. Seeing them, Yi Xian waved his hand indifferently. Putting aside the fact that these two were Lin Qing's disciples, even if they were ordinary disciples of the Qingyun sect, if they encountered such a thing, he would not have hesitated to do the same. Not only Yi Xian would have done so, too. The other elders would do the same. After all, in the great Qian dynasty, the Qingyun sect was famous for protecting their own. Although there were some internal conflicts within the sect, they always united when it came to facing common enemies. When I left the sect, I was instructed by your teacher to bring you back to Qingyun sect if I met you two along the way. The competition between the three great sects is about to begin, so it's time for you two to go back and participate. I thought I wouldn't see you two, but you guys were the first people we ran into on our first day out. Yi Xian said with a smile. Junior sister and I have been training outside for 2 months. We wanted to come back soon, but we didn't expect to find dark glacial ice in the mountain range of the death zone. We wanted to bring it back to the sect immediately, but we didn't expect to get blocked by Duan Wujia and an adventuring team. Thinking of this, Huang Ling could not help but shudder once again in fear. If Yi Xian had not appeared in time, she and Xue Min might have really died here. The cultivation practitioners of the Xianin sect were extremely vicious. In order to avoid information about dark glacial frost having been found being spread around, Duan Wujia and the others might have chosen to silence them. In the entire Great Qian dynasty, many cultivation practitioners were well aware of the Xianin sect style of doing things. That the cultivation practitioners of the Xianin sect were extremely arrogant, and they had countless grudges with the outside world. It was common for the cultivation practitioners of the sect to snatch treasures out of the hands of other cultivation practitioners. The most infuriating thing was that they often used the strength of the Xianin sect to distort the truth. Some of the cultivation practitioners who were not familiar with the style of the Xianin sect might believe their slander, but they would be extremely disdainful once they truly understood it. The reason was simple. The Xianin sect did not differentiate right from wrong. It was also because of this that Huang Ling and Xue Min knew very well that if they had agreed to Duan Wujia's condition earlier, they would still not have let them off after annihilating the team of adventurers. Most importantly, knowing the Xianin sect, they would definitely humiliate the cultivation practitioners before they slaughtered them. Even if the Qingyun sect wanted to hold them accountable, they couldn't do anything without a witness. What? You have dark glacial frost. Seeing this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up, and then his gaze fell upon the crystal in Huang Ling's hand. The crystal was crystal clear, and it was suffused with a faint icy power. If Elder Yi hadn't appeared in time, the both of us would have died here. This dark glacial frost can be considered a thank you gift to Elder Yi. Huang Ling and Xue Min looked at each other and nodded in unison. If not for Yi Xian's appearance, they would have perished at the hands of Duan Wujie, and might even have been humiliated before death. Compared to their own lives, what was mere frost? Anyway, this treasure was going to be given to their idol. What was there to hesitate about? The frost in your hand is not small. It is more than enough to increase the innate bone values of 3 cultivators. Yi Xian waved his hand slightly, and the ice in Huang Ling's hand appeared in his palm. In the next second, the ice in his palm suddenly split into 3 equal portions. 2 portions fell into Huang Ling's hand after that. I only need 1 portion. The rest is up to you to use. Okay, but I won't take the ice for free. Yi Xian thought for a moment before he took out 2 pills from his storage ring. One was a body-that refining pill, and the other was a poison pill. These 2 pills were the pills that Yi Xian had gotten from you. His cultivation had already reached the true core state, so these 2 pills were not of much use to him. However, they would be of great help to Huang Ling and Xue Min, 2 true essence state cultivators. Yi Xian flicked his finger lightly, and the 2 pills suddenly fell into their hands. Huang Ling and Xue Min looked at each other, selected the pill they wanted, then bowed respectfully to Yi Xian. Their eyes shone. Thank you for the pills, Elder Yi. The 2 of them had always admired Yi Xian, but this had put him on an entirely different pedestal. The 2 of them chatted for a while. Huang Ling and Xue Min also learned that the girl next to Yi Xian was called Yu. She was Yi Xian's new disciple he had just taken in. For a moment, the 2 of them were filled with envy. They sighed in their hearts. Why weren't they Elder Yi Xian's disciples? One had to know that in the Qinyan sect, countless cultivators yearned to become Yi Xian's disciple. However, he used to have no intention of taking in a disciple at all. No one expected him to suddenly take one in now. Yu was really enviable. However, what happened next made Huang Ling and Xue Min even more envious of Yu. Because Yi Xian did not hesitate to give you his portion of dark glacial frost. Dark glacial frost was an extremely rare treasure that could increase a cultivator's innate bone value. Although the increase was limited, it was still enough to greatly help someone even at the core formation state out. However, Yi Xian did not hesitate to give it to you. Even Master Lin Qing, who loved them very much, had never given them such a great gift. Ding! As the host has given his disciple dark glacial frost, you have received a random 8-fold feedback critical hit. Congratulations, the host has obtained mountain chalcedony. A system notification sounded in Yi Xian's mind. A clear and pure white liquid suddenly appeared in his storage space. This was also a rare treasure that could increase a cultivator's innate bone value, and its effect was even more pronounced than dark glacial frosts. This feedback is pretty good. Seeing this, Yi Xian could not help but smile. Whether it was the dark glacial frost that Xue Min and Yi Xian had obtained, or the mountain chalcedony that the system had given him, these were all extremely rare natural treasures. Elder Yi, we've met a lot of cultivators from the Xianin sect recently. It feels like they're plotting something. Just as the Firebird was about to arrive at Yunhei City, Huang Ling suddenly spoke to Yi Xian. The Xianin sect is secretly planning something. Hearing this, Yi Xian could not help but raise his eyebrows. That's right. I'm sure that Elder Yi is also aware that the Xianin sect has been frantically recruiting more cultivators over the past few years. Chapter 18. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Giving Gold Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, that's right. Is there a relationship between those 2 things? Yi Xian asked. Huang Ling said, these new disciples have been placed in the provinces of the Great Qian dynasty. They claim they want to eliminate the bandits there. And the strangest thing is that They're actually doing it. Everyone was well aware of the Xianin sect's usual behavior. They acted arrogantly, snatched away magic treasures from others, and made enemies everywhere. Moreover, they made use of their power to distort the truth, which aroused the anger of countless cultivation practitioners. However, because they were too strong, many cultivation practitioners could only be angry but did not dare to speak out against them. If they had sent disciples to steal things from the provinces, no one would find it strange. However, if they really wanted to eliminate the bandits and be chivalrous and righteous, that was odd. These guys would never act benevolently. Why did they care about getting rid of the bandits? Oh. Hearing this, Yi Xian could not help but raise his eyebrows. He could not help but link this matter to the massacre of Yu's village. Could these two events be connected? Yi Xian could not help but stroke his chin and think. If the destruction of Yu's village really had something to do with the Xianin sect, then he would have another reason to kill them off. However, he could not find any evidence for the time being, so he could only keep this matter to himself. As night slowly fell, Yi Xian and the others finally arrived at the Yunhei city on the Firebird. Yunhei city was located in the east of the Great Qian dynasty, and it was a place of extreme violence. The reason for that was very simple. Yunhei city was located in the mountain range of the Death Zone, where the Netherworld Forest and Fog Lake met. If Yi Xian wanted to reach Yunnan province in the shortest time possible, he would have to cross Yunhei city. Of course, some cultivators with a weaker cultivation level would choose to avoid Yunhei and use a safer route to travel. After all, Yunhei city was different from other places. There were no rules in this city. It could be said that the law of the jungle was strictly followed, and the strong were greatly respected. As long as one was strong enough, they set the rules. The imperial family of the Great Qian dynasty could not be bothered less about this place. After all, Yunhei city was located in a remote area, and they could not do much about it. As long as nothing huge happened, they turned a blind eye to the city. Yunhei city was an extremely chaotic place. If one did not possess a certain level of strength, one would not dare to visit. Huang Ling and Xue Min had only heard of the city from books and had never set foot in it before. Not long after arrived, they walked down from the back of the Firebird. When Huang Ling and Xue Min saw that the Firebird entered the space between Yu's eyebrows, they could not help but be shocked. Should the owner of this Firebird not be Elder Yi? Why did you own it? Could it be that Elder Yi Xian had given his mount to you? At the thought of this, the two of them could not help but look at each other, their eyes filled with shock. You keeping the Firebird was enough to prove that these two had a deep bond. For a moment, Huang Ling and Xue Min felt their hearts ache and their eyes fill with envy. Elder Yi Xian was too good to you. I'm so torn up about this. If only I was Elder Ye's disciple. Both of them knew each other's intentions very well. If they had not already become Elder Lin Qing's disciples, they would definitely have tried to convince Yi Xian to accept them as disciples. Think about it. If they could become the disciples of a handsome, talented, and young existence like him, how blissful would that be? For a moment, Huang Ling and Xue Min felt extremely regretful. Someone as handsome as Elder Yi Xian was akin to a god in the hearts of countless girls. Yi Xian did not know what Huang Ling and Xue Min were thinking. He brought them to Yunhei city. As soon as they entered the city, they heard that there was going to be an auction soon. Countless adventurers gathered in this chaotic city. Most of them were cultivators who had ventured into the Netherworld Forest and the mountains of the Death Zone before. As their gathering place, Yunhei city was naturally filled with countless treasures. It was said that Yunhei city held a small auction every day, and a large-scale auction would be held every 30 days. Right now, it was exactly 30 days since the last auction, so a large-scale auction was about to be held in the city. Yi Xian and the others found an inn. After settling down, he began to take out all the gold coins in his storage space. Here, take these gold coins. If you see anything you like, buy it. Like a member of the nouveau riche, Yi Xian threw the pile of gold coins to you. Looking at the mountain of gold coins that illuminated the entire room, Yu was completely stunned. Beside her, Huang Ling and Xue Min could not help but stayed rooted to the spot. It was too much gold, shining bright light onto you and the other two. How much were all these gold coins worth when added up? At least tens of millions. Oh my God! Yu was still in a daze. Huang Ling, who was the first to react, could not help but swallow her saliva. She had never seen such a huge amount of gold coins in her life. For a moment, she was stunned. As expected of an elder of the Qingyun sect. He had so many gold coins. And he was giving them to you as pocket money. After all, Yi Xian had asked you to buy whatever she liked. Was it not pocket money? He had even given her so much pocket money. Did that mean he still had more gold coins in his storage ring? Oh my God! Why did they not have such a rich master? For a moment, Huang Ling and Xue Min could not help but look at each other and smile wryly. They felt completely at a loss and like the world was extremely unfair. There was nothing more painful in the world than this. They had clearly met the most perfect master, but he did not want to take them in. As expected, the grass was always greener on the other side. The two of them did not know that this mountain of gold coins was all Yi Xian had to his name. After his cultivation reached the true core state, gold coins of the secular world were no longer very important to him. He valued the rare cultivation resources more. Of course, if he converted the heavenly treasures in his storage ring into gold coins, he could indeed accumulate a mountain of gold much higher than this one. Chapter 19 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Violet Orchid Valley Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, silly girl, why aren't you putting it away? Yi Xian smiled and reminded you, who was still in a daze. If you did not accept it, he would not be able to get a critical hit from the system's feedback. Thank you, Master. You knew that what her master had given her could not be rejected. She put the mountain of gold into her storage ring. Ding! As the host has given 32,510,000 gold coins to his disciple, you have received a 10-fold feedback critical hit. Congratulations, the host has received 325,100,000 gold coins. The system's voice rang out in Yi Xian's mind. Hee, it's time to go to the auction house and spend some money. Hearing this, Yi Xian could not help but smile. He had given all the gold coins in his storage ring to you to obtain a critical hit from the system's feedback, so he would have enough funds to go to the auction house and auction on items. There were three major forces in Yinhe City that were the most powerful around, and the auction house was one of them. To be able to carve out a place for oneself in Yinhe City, one needed the auction house on your side. However, that was no simple feat. There was a rumor that an early-stage empty core state cultivator ran the auction house. The headquarters of the auction house was in the center of Yinhe City. In a city where the strong preyed on the weak, being able to occupy such a central area was enough to prove one's majesty. Yi Xian only put a little bit of pressure on them before the staff of the auction house invited him inside with great respect. Essence Condensation Pill, first grade. It can help cultivators refine the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and transform it into the power of true essence in their core. If cultivators below the 5th stage of true essence state take this pill, they can skip over a few stages. The starting price is 300,000 gold coins. I bid 360,000 gold coins. I bid 390,000. I bid 430,000. As the voice of the sexy female auctioneer rang out, several voices pierced the auction hall. Is a first-grade essence condensing pill so expensive? Witnessing this scene, you could not help but reveal a shocked expression. Although she figured that the price of a first-grade pill would not be low, she also did not have a good concept of how much gold coins were worth. After all, you had only been with the Qingyun sect for 2 years, so her knowledge and experience were extremely limited. Most of her knowledge outside the sect came from the scripture depository or from the other disciples' discussions. You was a girl who had yet to experience the world. You knew that her father's annual income had been less than 50 gold coins. However, these unremarkable 50 gold coins could easily support her family for the year. In her backward village, if one's annual income was 90 gold coins, they were already considered to be rolling in dough. The price of a mere first-grade medicinal pill was 300,000 gold coins. This was simply unimaginable to her. If the price of a first-grade medicinal pill was already so ridiculous, how much would the third-grade medicinal pill that Master previously gifted to her be? How about the heavenly and earthly treasures and the gold coins that Master had gifted to her over these past few days, too? How much did the value of those things add up to? Even some cultivators in the core formation state might not possess such wealth, right? Thinking of this, you could not help but put on a complicated expression. Her master treated her so well. Could she really repay her master's kindness in this lifetime? Yi Xian did not know what Yu was thinking. Looking at the items being auctioned off in the hall, he could not help but feel bored. Although the female announcer had already auctioned off many treasures, and the cultivators in the auction hall were intensely bidding, he was uninterested. Of course, Yi Xian did not choose to leave. After all, as one of the 3 major forces in Yunhei City, how could the auction hall not have at least a few good things? Fellow cultivators, the item we're about to auction is an extremely rare natural treasure. We call it the Violet Orchid Valley. It's a treasure that even purple spirit state cultivators are extremely envious of, because this treasure can help condense purple chi. It can allow a purple spirit state cultivator to cross a few stages. Most importantly, speaking up to emphasize her point, the female auctioneer deliberately paused for a moment before speaking slowly again. After consuming the Violet Orchid Valley, the probability of a cultivator at the peak of the purple spirit state stepping into the core formation state will increase by 10%. As soon as she finished speaking, the cultivators in the auction hall instantly grew excited. Most of the cultivators had been waiting for this treasure, especially those who had been at the 10th stage of the purple spirit state for many years. Being able to increase the chance of breaking through by 10% was already enough to make them pay any price. Seeing this, a hint of interest appeared in Yi Xian's rather bored eyes. This Violet Orchid Valley was indeed a rare natural treasure. But this treasure is still somewhat incomplete. The female auctioneer once again poured cold water on everyone. She spoke slowly. Although the effects of the Violet Orchid Valley are quite powerful, it's still immature and somewhat incomplete. But in any case, it is indeed of great help to purple spirit state cultivators. Especially to cultivators below the 10th level of the purple spirit state. If you're already at the peak of a lower state, there is an almost 100% chance that you'll immediately jump stages. Although this Violet Orchid Valley doesn't have a 10% chance increase of breaking through for the cultivators of the 10th stage of the purple spirit state, the chance increase is still 3% to 4%. Everyone, the starting price of the Violet Orchid Valley is 10 million gold coins. Let the bidding begin. As soon as those words were spoken, the cultivators in the auction house were once again in an uproar. Although this Violet Orchid Valley was immature, it was still extremely useful. It still possessed a fatal allure, especially for purple spirit state cultivators. The auction value of the mature Violet Orchid Valley was around 70 million. Some wealthy purple spirit state cultivators were even willing to spend 100 million gold coins on it. Very few cultivators would ever choose to auction off a mature Violet Orchid Valley that they had found. Chapter 20. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Evil Blood Sect and Shadow Tower Collide. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. I bid 12 million. I bid 16 million. I bid 19 million. For a moment, the auction hall was filled with the sounds of bidding. Evil Blood Sect, bid 20 million. A majestic voice suddenly rang out in the auction hall. A powerful pressure slowly spread throughout the room. Everyone's eyes changed when they saw this. It was obvious that the other party was threatening them. To be able to reveal his sect and have such a powerful command of the room. His goals were self-evident. He wanted to warn them that if anyone dared to continue bidding, they would become enemies with the Evil Blood Sect. When everyone heard this, they looked for the source of the voice. They saw that the person who had spoken was a half-naked middle-aged man with a rather muscular body. When the middle-aged man met the gazes of the crowd, his gaze did not change in the slightest. Instead, a cold smile grew on his face. It's actually the Evil Blood Sect. I know this fellow. This fellow is the deputy sect leader of the Evil Blood Sect, Fonitai. It said that this fellow's cultivation has reached the 10th stage of the purple spirit state. He's an extremely powerful existence. The most crucial point is that this fellow's cultivation reached the 10th stage of the purple spirit state 10 years ago. Without the assistance of special heavenly and earthly treasures, it's practically impossible for him to step into the core formation state. Now that he's seeing such a rare violet orchid valley, he definitely won't give it up. Forget it. The Evil Blood Sect is incomparably powerful. We'd better give up. After all, there's still a final treasure to come. For a moment, everyone's expressions could not help but change. They completely dismissed the idea of bidding against him. Fongitai's threat was obvious. If anyone participated in the bidding, they would be completely offending the Evil Blood Sect. Even if they remained alive to bid for it, they might not remain alive to enjoy it. Fonitai naturally heard everyone's discussions. When he heard what they were saying, he could not help but smile. At least they knew their place. Otherwise. At this moment, a faint voice rang out in the auction hall. I bid 21 million. When Fonitai heard this, the smile on his face froze. His eyes immediately turned cold. He was familiar with the owner of this voice. It was the deputy leader of the Shadow Tower, Lin Yu. The Evil Blood Sect and Shadow Tower were extremely powerful. Although they had some connections in Yunhei City, their true headquarters were in Jiaohe City, which was 250 miles away. The most crucial thing was that these two great factions both had cultivators at the early stage of the empty core stage, and they were extremely powerful. Both sides were at odds with each other. Especially since a few months ago, when a great battle occurred between the Evil Blood Sect and Shadow Tower. The leaders of both sides had suffered heavy injuries in this great battle, and neither side had truly won out. They had come to Yunhei City to bid on a medicinal pill in the auction hall. If they could obtain this pill, they would be able to completely heal their leaders' injuries. In this way, not only would they be able to obtain victory in the great battle between the two factions, but they might even be able to completely annihilate the other party. I bid 22 million. Fongitai's eyes were ice-cold as he spoke. 24 million, Lin Yu said indifferently. Both of them were in the 10th stage of the purple spirit state. The temptation of the Violet Orchid Valley was no small one. I bid 25 million. Lin Yu, does your Shadow Tower really want to become sworn enemies with our Evil Blood Sect? Fonitai could not help but reveal a cold smile when he heard this. His eyes were ice-cold as he looked at Lin Yu. Isn't it obvious? I bid 26 million. Lin Yu's gaze was filled with ridicule as he looked at Fonitai. He spoke indifferently. With your Shadow Tower's strength, do you really have gold to compete with me? Don't tell me that you really want to abandon that medicinal pill for the sake of this incomplete Violet Orchid Valley. Don't you want to cure your leaders? Fongitai's lips curled into a cold smile as he spoke. They had come to the auction hall not because of the Violet Orchid Valley, but because of the medicine that was about to be auctioned off. If they spent too many gold coins on the Violet Orchid Valley, they might not have enough to bid for the healing elixir medicine. One had to know that that healing elixir medicine held the life and death of these two great factions. If you're not worried, what's there for me to be afraid of? Lin Yu said calmly. I'll bid 30 million. If you have the guts, then continue to bid. Feng Yitai slowly spat out a bid and then looked at Lin Yu with a smile. When Lin Yu heard this, his expression could not help but change. The Violet Orchid Valley was indeed valuable, but this incomplete item was not worth 30 million. If he spent too many gold coins on it, he might not be able to afford the medicine. On the one hand, it would increase his chances of breaking through to the core formation state. On the other hand, his decision would affect Shadow Tower's future. He already knew what choice he should make. Fine. So what if I give it to you? Lin Yao thought for a while before saying indifferently. 30 million, going once. 30 million, going twice. 30 million, going thrice. Congratulations to the deputy leader of the Evil Blood sect on winning the bid for Violet Orchid Valley. With the words of the female auctioneer, the Violet Orchid Valley finally belonged to Feng Yitai. It's really laughable. Just because you wanted a small chance of breaking through, you actually spent 30 million. Feng Yitai, oh Feng Yitai, you've personally ruined the future of the entire Evil Blood sect. After our leader recovers from his injuries, we'll completely massacre your entire sect. I'm afraid that then, you won't even be alive to enjoy the Violet Orchid Valley. When Lin Yu witnessed this, he could not help but mock him. The two great factions had about the same amount of assets. Now that Feng Yitai had spent 30 million gold coins on the Violet Orchid Valley, how could he possibly compete with him for the healing elixir medicine? Everyone, the item we're going to auction is a third-grade medicinal pill that has a miraculous healing effect. It's called the Soul-Returning Pill. This Soul-Returning Pill was personally refined by Tier 3 alchemist Master Lin Song. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with Master Lin's methods. Even if a cultivator below the core formation state suffers a serious injury, as long as they consume this medicinal pill, they will be able to quickly recover. Even for powerful cultivators at the core formation stage, the pill has a great effect. As long as it doesn't damage the core and bones, it can also heal all external injuries. I announced the starting bid for the Soul-Returning Pill as 25 million. Let the bidding begin. As soon as she said that, many cultivators in the auction hall put on excited expressions. The Soul-Returning Pill. Hearing this, you could not help but be stunned. Was this not the pill that her master had given her when she accepted him as master? Right now, the pill was still quietly lying in her storage space. She did not expect the starting price of that pill to be a terrifying 25 million. Thinking of this, Yu's gaze could not help but fall on Yi Xian. When she saw Yi Xian's incomparably handsome side profile, she could not help but feel like she was in a trance.